The earliest thing that I can remember is that when I was a little kid, I really wanted to be a businessman. You know, when you ask little kids like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Like, "What do you want to do?" For some reason, I wanted to be a businessman. I remember being like, I wanted to have like a briefcase, and I wanted to be able to travel the world and do business and all that sort of stuff. And whenever I could, I always thought of like little ways where I could make money, where I could, grow a small little business and have a little bit of fun. And, I had that inspiration from seeing my dad have his own business, from really just, seeing other people in the world with businesses and what they were up to and what they did. So I remember like the earliest recollection I have of doing anything kind of like business related was when I was in year 6 or 7 here in Australia, which might have been, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old, or actually maybe a little bit younger, where we decided to have a club at school. I decided to create a club, which was called the Short Haired Brothers Club. All the guys had like number four all over haircuts, really, really short. And I just thought, I was like, hey, let's create a club. I'll create some membership cards. My dad had a laminating machine from when he was making his business cards. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to create some membership cards and charge like $2 to be a member of this club. And that was the very first little foray I had into that. And then from there, I started looking at other ways and being like, what are things that people want that I can help them get, or that I have that I can connect them up with? The next best recollection I have is like when I was, again, I think it was about 10 or 11 years old, Pokemon came out on Game Boy. And me being like into computers and things like that, I was like, all right, I want to see if I can play it on a computer. Like there were emulators, what they were called, where they would basically emulate playing on a Game Boy. There's Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, and you would go through and you'd be able to choose certain characters and be able to play Pokemon, much like the TV show that was super popular at the time, and the trading card game as well. So I started figuring out how to get on the computer, which was via emulator. You could start it up, launch it, use it just by, I think it was Yahoo or Ask Jeeves at the time. Google wasn't as big. And I was starting to use those to try and find out what was going on. How could I use it? How could I download it? So I download it, put it on my computer, start having a little bit of play. Then I was like telling all the kids at school, like, yeah, I play Pokemon on my computer at home. They're like, oh, how do you do that? Like, because not everyone, like Game Boys were pretty expensive. They weren't necessarily attainable for everyone. And I was like, oh, you just like play, like have an emulator, blah, blah, blah. I told them how to do the thing. They're like, it sounds a bit hard. So I was like, oh, look, at home, my dad has a whole stack of little 3.5-inch floppies. So he has like a ton of them. I'll put it on there. If you guys give me like $2, I'll put it on there for you. I'll bring it in, and then you've got your own. I thought that was fair. I had Pokemon. They wanted Pokemon. I will provide it to them. And I did that. And then within about a week, I think I made close to like $100. I was like, this is the best. I was like, going to buy all the best lollies. I'm going to, have unlimited supply of all my favorite treats. And then I found out from one of the teachers who came up to me and was like asking what I was doing. And of course, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong at the time. So I just told them, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. They're like, there's a thing called copyright, which is basically like you're breaking that and you're not really supposed to be doing that. So how about you stop? And I was like, okay. I didn't understand that it was a bad thing to do. I didn't understand that it was something that you shouldn't do. I just thought it was like, well, I downloaded the emulator, it plays, like, obviously profiteering off that is probably not a good idea. So going through all these, I kind of figured out that it's like, hey, if you have something that people want and you can provide it to them, obviously they're going to be willing to pay. And that was one of my very first like lessons in business as I was going through that and started to figure it out.